Hello, my name is Dr. Maya Byfield. My business is The Phenomenal STEMist. I'm so excited to be here in Orange County because it's where I live. I live in Apopka, Florida. And I decided to make this business because I saw a need for underrepresented students to be successful in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, math. And the best way I can do that is just provide products for parents to prepare them, whether it's a book or online STEM camps or just video podcasting. My goal is to transform this community, especially those who are underrepresented. And the way to do that is to help parents understand their children's minds and basically develop them at different stages of their lives to be prepared for a successful STEM career. Thank you so much. That's why I'm here. All right, all right. Oh, the phone doesn't move with you for some reason. Okay, so turn it back. Yeah,
This way.
yeah,
That better?
yeah. It's the same. What happens is sometimes different phones. What they do is when you turn it, it goes to widescreen, but that's not what's happening with you, and it's okay.
Maybe let's try it again because I put it. Let's see if this works. Does that work?
Perfect, perfect. Now move
No,
back
sir.
a little
Now I've got to figure out how to adjust it. All right, hold up.
bit. Just to let you know, we're live. I had to start the show because the way the stream works is that they'll cut you off if you don't start in 10 minutes.
All
So
right. Apology for the late showing up late. We had technical difficulties.
I know.
It turned out my tablet wouldn't let me do what I want to do because I used to have my mic here and everything because I do podcasting, but I hadn't done it in a while. So anyway, I'm
Yeah,
here. I'm
you're
in.
here. Just back up a little bit. You're
All right,
perfect.
here we go. All
There
right.
we go. Oh my goodness. Hey everybody, it's the phenomenal STEMist. I am so excited about this interview. I have my college colleague. He has his own Oakwood sweatshirt on and everything.
I thought it was appropriate to represent, so here we are.
It's perfect. It's perfect. I have Joseph Lewis the second. Love it. On the show today, he is a perfusionist. He is a graduate of Oakwood College with a bachelor's in, I believe, biochemistry, right? Or was it
Biochem.
biochemistry? That's right. Where did you go to graduate school for your perfusionist degree, or like?
So the way it works with perfusion at the time, and they still do it now. There's some schools that offer a bachelor's, and then
Okay,
there's some schools that offer a master's. So
okay,
the program I went to that was MUSC at the time, they hadn't done the paperwork and everything that was associated with making it a master's program, even though we
got
did
you.
research projects and all that stuff that comes with it. So I graduated with, which would be another bachelor's, and
Got you.
then now I think maybe about 5, 10 years after that, then they turned it into a master's program. But it's essentially the same program. The thing
Absolutely.
that's unique about it is that, perfusionists back in the day, they were either on the job trained, that was like 20 years ago, which they don't do that anymore, or you would get a certificate program, which you might get that at Texas Heart, or a bachelor's or a master's, but you would come out making the same money. So it really
Right.
didn't make a difference unless you just wanted to have something to go on your resume. I was
Got
like, I
you.
wouldn't do anything less than a bachelor's. So here I am.
Here you are. Here you are with a great career. As we're gonna get into it real quick. And just before I do that, I just do a little bit of homework. I want to remind you all that the phenomenal STEMist. Oh shoot. I we've been on I just recognized. Let me take this off. We've been on. I've had my I forgot I didn't take
the book off. So we've been on, but our voices have been on, and the pictures weren't seen. So that's actually great because you didn't see the whole phone debacle anyway.
The
Once
value of live television is live.
it is live and it's perfect. Once again, this is Joseph Lewis II, Joe Lewis as I know him. And we're going to really get into it. But before I do that, I want to just remind you that The Phenomenal STEMist is available on Amazon.com. Prepare your kids in STEM. And please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel as you see scrolling on the page. All right, let's get right into it. Joe, when did you fall in love with your discipline? When did
All
you?
right, I'm gonna tell you. I will tell you that, but first, I just want to thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure coming on, and I really appreciate the fact that you've created this platform to be able to educate people on options that are out there, especially people of color. But for the most part, anybody that's looking for somewhere to make themselves, I guess, better and give back in a productive way. So, thank you
For
for doing that.
sure, for sure, no doubt.
My love for perfusion, it's funny, like I stumbled up on it like everybody else. I ended up, so my mom, my father's a minister, and we pastored a family back in Michigan whose son became a perfusionist. Now, it kind of came out in conversation when my parents would talk back and forth with people from back home. Lo and behold, they said, well, his name is Mark Brazil. Mark Brazil, who's Seventh-day Adventist as well. He's a perfusionist. You should reach out to him and touch bases and see what it's about. Because I was in that little phase, like where I was trying to figure out, do I want to do the MCAT? Should I do, physical therapy or whatever? I was trying to figure out what discipline can I go to. I said, there has to be something outside of medical school, but let's just see what our options are. People are always walking up and down the hall in hospitals and so forth. You don't know what they do, and everybody's doing well, and they like their jobs and stuff. So you just have to ask questions. So anyway, I called Mark. Mark tells me about perfusion, everything associated with it. He told me the website to check out. And he said, I think you really enjoy this profession. He talked about, why he enjoyed it. And then as I thought about it, my family has some history of heart disease, at least all my grandparents. And all of them have been deceased, and they didn't have the options that are available now, like stents and bypasses and all those things. It wasn't perfected. So I was like, you know what, this means a lot to me because now I will be able to impact other people's family in a way that I wish my family had been impacted. But I just love the cardiovascular system. I like science anyway. And I was like, this seems like a really good way I can take care of my family. But it's also a unique profession because nobody else knows how to do it, except for about 3,000 people in the whole world.
Wow, it's
So now
crazy.
so now it's not like I'm just doing something that everybody else is doing, but it's like really unique. And so anyway, so that's how I liked it. But the funny part about this, like, it's amazing how God puts things in your path. Back in the day when I was at Peterson Warren Academy in Detroit, my mom was very aggressive about finding activities and things to do all over the summer. We weren't going to be flipping fries and things like that. She said, you need to always be doing something productive. So we
Productive.
found a summer program through Wayne State University where they pair you with a person that's a researcher at the university, and you kind of are like a lab assistant or whatever, but at the same time, you get to come in, you do the experiments with them, you help out. Sometimes they'll put your name on a study, and then you can use them as references, and then you can kind of reach back, down the line if you need somebody to support you in your educational endeavors. So lo and behold, I get connected with the guy, Dr. Dutta. Sarah's a Sarah Dundu Dutta. He's since expired, but he was doing research on hearts from rats. So they would take the heart from the rat, euthanize it, put the heart in a chamber, and then run high potassium and low potassium solutions through it to see how they can stop and start the heart safely and comfortably while using cold and warm environments.
You were researching the heart and
Exactly. And
from
it's exactly
kids.
what I do now. We stop the
Yeah.
heart with a high potassium solution. So there was like the Lord kind of planted that seed. And then as I think about it, just all tied together. And next thing you know, I just started applying to schools. And then when I got in at MUSC, then I went there because it was a very strong program. And then you just fall in love with it because, like I said, it's different and nobody knows about it. But at the same time, it's something that you have to it's a craft that you have to work on and get better at. And that's pretty much where it started. And then after that, it's like the rest is history.
Oh my goodness. Can we shout out Christian focused honorable parents? I know your mother has since passed,
Yes.
but it is you said your father advised you to talk to one of his members. Your mother said, we're going to do something productive. We're going to put you in programs early to just spark your interest. Can we shout? I really believe this. Number one, it parents, whether they have the education in, because your father's a pastor and your mother, is she a homemaker or was she a professional?
Well, my mother was a professional. She went to Oakwood and
Yeah.
graduated summa cum laude some years ago, and she got her
Okay.
master's in education, specializing in English and reading at
When,
Andrews University.
okay,
And
so
she
she was educated
graduated.
for.
Yeah, so she started working. She educated for a while, and then when we were born, my mom was like, "All right, I'm going to teach my kids at home because she said I want to give them the best education, but I want to mold their characters in God's character, and I'm the only person or the best person to do that. I don't want to count on anybody else to do it." So she homeschooled us. She homeschooled me till 11th grade, and my sister was 3 years behind me, and she homeschooled her until 8th grade. And so that's the baseline there. So she sacrificed her career, I guess, in terms of money and the accolades or whatever, and but really poured all her energy into us. And then, God blessed us. So
Well, shout out to whether you have the education or not. I really, if you have the love for your children and you have the desire for your children, you can mold them. You can
that's it.
mold them and just give them opportunities, and let them decide what to do later. But you'll be surprised, like, we're a spiritual group here,
Yes.
how God, like you're saying, you didn't even know you were going to be a perfusionist when you were just doing research on the heart. You could have been a
Exactly.
cardiologist. You could have done
Right.
whatever. Many people transfer into different ways, but you actually saw the process of perfusion at a young age.
Didn't even know what I was looking at, but that just goes to show you the exposure or the position or places that God puts you. And then you think back and it's like, wait a minute, he was preparing me for this. So
Yes.
now here we are. And just to piggyback on something else that you said, I'll tell you one of the things my mom used to do. So first of all, she knew how to do a lot of things, but what she didn't know how to do, she'd find somebody else. Like she would literally call the university. So we were doing chemistry in like a college chemistry at a Highland Park Community College back when we were like in the 8th and 9th grade. And she
Wow.
found a guy that said, "I'd be glad to have them come over. I'll take an hour or two in the evening. We'll do a lab every week." So she did that. She found somebody to teach us private French lessons, private Spanish lessons. We did some gymnastics for a while. We did swimming. We got our lifeguarding. She did all these different things. And she told me, she said, the reason I'm doing these things is like, you don't have to necessarily do that specifically for the rest of your life. Because we did violin, piano, all of it. She said, I want you to be well-rounded so you can do anything. And then you
You
also
want.
understand if you work hard, you can succeed at any of these things, but it also makes you well-rounded. And so over the course of time, there's like nothing that I don't feel like if I don't know how to do it, that I can't learn how to do it. And so it just made us more well-rounded. All this stuff happened without me really paying attention because he just put this stuff on our plate. Like, I'll do that. I'll do that. And we were so busy all the time, but it just works out. It worked out great. Like that was her plan. And
Awesome.
yeah.
Shout out to her. Shout out to her and honor to her and your dad for
Yeah.
guiding.
My dad. Oh, yeah. Because
All
my
right,
dad,
number.
they sacrificed for us to do that, but it's all for the greater good. So
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so to me, you fell in love with your discipline by guidance,
mhm.
and things just moved from in place. It
Yeah,
seems.
that's it.
Um, what tools did you use to discipline yourself to succeed? So when you got to college, how did you discipline yourself?
Well, the thing is, so at Oakwood, I did my thing like in terms of making sure I was focused to a certain degree, but not like I was when I went to perfusion school. Because perfusion school, it was like, how can I describe it? It's like it happens quick, and you want to hit the ground running. Because if you don't hit the ground running, they weed you out. Just like anything. Like if you don't
Mm,
have a certain level of excellence or whatever, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, then you'll be gone by the next semester. So I really had to
wow.
I dropped everything. Like I disappeared for a while in terms of I didn't go to weddings or get togethers. And then we weren't rich. So I didn't go home for Christmas and Thanksgiving. I stayed there and immersed myself in everything. So I'm studying, I'm reading. I said, I have to give this 110%. Because if it doesn't work out, then I can say, okay, I know I did everything I could possibly do. But at the same time, when you work hard, you can't fail. right? And so, the Lord is behind me. So I'm like, I gotta really do this. So I just really focused on what I was there to do. And it started, you know how it is when you go to like grad school, it starts out where you're like gaining your footing and it's rough for a little bit, and then things start to even out. It's like, all right, now I know what I'm doing. You understand how to budget your time. And then over a period of time, you just start to see that, you look back where you came from educationally and understanding the craft and what you're trying to become. All of a sudden it just starts kind of coming together, and then you just keep building. And then the other amazing thing is that God put a lot of amazing people in my path, because there's resources out there for anybody if you want to learn how to do something or you want support. And the Lord let me
Now
meet
more than
different
ever.
people. Yeah, the Lord let me meet people that were like, I got you. Like, what do you need? And it could be something simple, like, I have this class here. I don't know what's going on. I was like, all right, I know a guy. Hit him up. He can help you get through this portion or help you understand this in a way that you didn't understand it before. And so that was the grind. But the thing is, the grind was there from the beginning, because I was like, nobody can stop me from accomplishing a task, especially with God on my side. And if you're
Yeah.
willing to work hard and you're willing to figure out what you need to do and take the necessary steps, you can get there.
I want to go back to the concept of you dropping everything, not going to weddings. You you were a social butterfly at Oakwood. You were in a fraternity.
I did
Right?
everything.
You did everything. You had a good time. So for you to decide, you know what? I'm going to disappear. Even Joe had to disappear, y'all.
I had to
Listen,
disappear. I had
listen.
to disappear.
Even there comes to a time where if you want to get stuff done, especially things that are extremely challenging,
Yep.
you're going to have to disappear.
And this might be aggressive what I'm going to say, but I remember I was dating somebody there kind of off and on, because she was in the MD PhD program. And, but I told her, I was like, I'll be honest with you, like, I would like for this to work, but I'm not here for a relationship or to find a wife. I'm trying to find my craft. If we work out because you're busy and I'm busy, then that's good. It's not to say that we don't have anything, but I know what I'm here for, and I can't, get off track, because it's like the 8 Mile movie with Eminem. It's like, you got one shot. Now
Wow.
granted, you do have other opportunities for things, but when you are placed in a position and God sets a table for you, he's like, you know what, I'm gonna make the most of this. So I dropped a lot of things, and not bad stuff. Like I used to play ball all the time. I used to like to play some video games. All of it went by the wayside. I haven't probably really played video games since like PlayStation 2. I stopped that. And it was for the good, because like you have to put in the work to get out what you need. And there is a point where you get to dial it back a little bit. When you really get into the profession, you can really now work and just work on your skills, as opposed to having to read books and stuff all the time. But I was reading books cover to cover, things like that, I used to like to read books all the time, but like I really got aggressive with it, because,
Yeah.
you want to put yourself in a position to be successful. You got to know your stuff.
And you know what? The earlier, the better. I say this all the time to parents who have middle school children, especially boys. You have to eliminate distractions. If you
Yeah.
want them to be successful in STEM, you have to eliminate distractions. Even if it's girls, like girls and sports, those things have to be minor compared to their education. Eliminate distractions, because at that age, they get really distracted. And in life, as we age, no matter what age range we get to, we get extremely distracted. And so the earlier we learn to eliminate distractions, to me, I'm hearing is when you felt like you had one shot, it sounds like you knew this is what you wanted to do and
Yeah.
you didn't
I
want to
liked
do
it.
anything else. So therefore you're like, it's time to eliminate distractions, even if it's a relationship for a
Right.
short period of time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Lord works all that stuff out when it comes to relationships. But and I hate this. I was talking about this conversation the other day with somebody. Sometimes when it's nice to meet somebody and fall in love and so forth. There is a time to get that done, but you have to pray on that and ask God to lead you, because those decisions can change your trajectory.
Absolutely.
Because, for example, like when I was in school, it's just me. So when I'm at the house and my student loan money starts running out and all I have to eat is peanut butter and jelly for the semester, I can do it. I don't have to feel guilty watching my child or my wife or somebody struggle, and they're going through my struggle too. I'm doing it by myself. I had a classmate that he used to study out under the streetlights because he didn't have electricity, because he spent all his money on his tuition. And
Wow.
so these types of things, you don't want to drag anybody else into that. So it allowed me to be selfish to accomplish my goal. So when somebody comes to me and say, hey, I have a job in Arizona. It's the best job you ever get. I can drop everything. I don't have to think about, well, my wife has a job at this. And then that changes my trajectory because now I have to kind of make some adjustments, which you're supposed to do when you have a
Right,
family.
right.
But I was like, I'm so young. I'm in my 20s. I'm going to meet people and so forth. But right now I got to focus on what I'm supposed to do.
Love it.
The other key thing that I want to mention is that so the things that my mom had us doing, like violin and learning different crafts and so forth, that's where you learn discipline, right? So violin and piano, you can sit down and play. If you don't practice every day, you're not going to get better. So you learn over the course of years, like, because I didn't really play as much piano at Oakwood like my sister did, but I was doing competitions before I came there.
Oh,
So I've been playing violin since the age of 6 and piano since the age of 7. I'm playing Beethoven. I'm doing all this stuff. I would sit down and play 5 and 6 hours at a time practicing for these things. And so in those moments, you learn I can do anything I want to do. And then as long as I have discipline, I can get there. So you hear yourself playing 10 years ago and you hear yourself playing now, you see the things your fingers can do. You're like, all right, so I know if I work this, I do the finger exercises and stuff, you will build.
right.
Same thing translates over to like when I'm doing whatever my profession is. I know that when I put the work in, I can get nothing but good results back. And that was pretty much that. And even you'll get a kick out of this, even pledging a fraternity. When you start getting into the medical field and so forth, there's a little bit of hazing and so forth that kind of goes along with that. And there's a
Mm,
lot of mind games that people play for whatever particular reason. And so
mm.
having pledged, then that stuff didn't bother me because I'm like, I'm here for a goal. I'm focused on this. So all the outside distractions, things that might get under your skin, it didn't bother
Mhm.
me at all. Right?
You
Nothing.
learned
Yeah.
it. You practiced it. You
Yeah.
practiced
So
it. So I'm hearing you discipline yourself through deciding this is what I want to do. One shot, eliminate distraction, and
mhm,
practice, 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 practice,
that's it.
and it'll work.
That's
That's what
it.
I'm hearing. Okay, sounds good. Number 3, my next question. What were your challenges in school? What made it hard? What made it difficult?
You know what one of the challenges was, and this is an interesting one because I love Oakwood, but the way we had to prepare for tests at Oakwood was a little bit different from when I moved out into the university setting, like when I went to MUSC, because they did
Mhm,
a lot of K-type questions, which are kind
mhm,
of designed to kind of throw you off a little bit. Like, yeah, for us, we worked on the MCAT and stuff like that, but there's a test rhythm, there's a way to look at the questions, there's a way to prepare. So I had a little bit of a transition the first semester making those adjustments to get an understanding of where or how I need to look at these questions to do well in them. Because they trick you.
mhm.
It's like A, B, C, A, and C, or all of the above. And you see what you like, and like, boom. And you just mark things, and then you start to learn the concepts. I went over, it was funny because I tell people all the time, it's okay to go to the tutoring or Center for Academic Excellence is what they called it for us, because they can give you little tips and tricks, and people have taken those classes before you. Don't wait till you have a F. You go, you go when you're like,
Oh,
I had that quiz last week and there's some tricky stuff on there. Let me just get ahead of the game. So I did
ahead
that.
of the game.
So they taught me that K-type questions are to be looked at, each one, A, B, C, D, as a true false question, where you mark true false, and then you get to the end, you see, is it A and C or all of the above or only one answer? So then I started eliminating like little mistakes and things like that. So that was my adjustment that I had to make, I think, when I started going, to MUSC, because they were throwing all these K-type questions because it's the easiest way to test people. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is going on here? What am I doing wrong? Because I'm putting in the work. So that's the
Yeah,
first thing. I can't say like, man, I shouldn't have hung out last night and this is why I'm struggling. No, I know I put it in
I
work.
studied.
So now I need to understand what I need to do to refine my abilities to do well on it. So that was probably my trickiest thing. Everything else was fine though. I knew how to be professional. I knew how to treat people because that's a baseline for anybody who goes to Oakwood. We always know how to connect with people because we're genuine people by nature. And then we
Yeah.
also have like, we have God in our hearts, and people
Mhm.
can see that. And so you'll see that you're able to make a lot of relationships that other people cannot because we are who we are. So you put it all together and
Authentic.
it's, yeah, yeah,
Authentic. Yeah.
yeah. So that was the biggest, probably one of the hurdles that I had to adjust to, but I was willing to do what I needed to do to understand how I need to look at these questions, which carried over to the boards. And I was able to prepare for the boards the same way because now I knew what I needed to do.
A common challenge are these exams. And in STEM, especially in healthcare, you're gonna get these exams. And
Hmm.
nowadays they're trying to eliminate like the SATs and things like that for
Hmm.
getting into college. However, what they don't tell parents is they use those SAT scores or the lack thereof to place you in certain math and science classes. So you think you're getting away from, oh, I don't got to take the SAT anymore. And then you're in the lowest level math because you don't have a SAT score or you don't have the proper SAT score. And now it stops you from getting into the chemistry class because you have to have a certain level of math to get into the chemistry class, and it stops, and therefore you're way behind. So don't let these new rules fool you parents into not preparing your children on how to take these types of examinations. They're not going away in the context of healthcare. The NCLEX for nursing, the MCAT for medical school, and all kinds of board certifications for every other type of skill set. That, to me, the future is licensing. Like, do I
Hmm.
have a license in X, Y, and Z? Everything else, I think, is going to be taken over by robots and artificial intelligence. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so I feel like if you're gonna encourage your people to what should I get a degree in? What should I go to college for? What I encourage, in my opinion, if you're going to spend all this money on student loans and things like that, make sure you're going into a career that requires licensure. And so if that's the case, if that's the future for humans, then you're going to have to get to know how to take these types of examinations. And they're tough. As you heard Joe say, they're
Yeah.
difficult. But you can master them if you talk to people, if you get help. And I think that's the thread I'm hearing all day long from you. You've constantly reached out to people. Your mother taught you that. Whatever she doesn't know, she's talking to somebody. And that's the human connection. That's what makes us different than animals and robots. We connect with people,
But it's
you
the way
know?
the world works. When you
Yes.
have access or you're connected to whomever, let's just say hypothetically, I know I'm friends with the president some kind of way. When my son gets ready to go to school, it's the same school the president went to. I call him up. I say, hey, can you look out my son? Oh, no problem. I know a guy. Right now, at the same time, you're still going to do the work, but you
Yes.
want to just have not even a leg up on the competition because nobody's going to give you anything. But you want to put yourself on that playing field where you can go in and you can do your thing. That's really what you want. And the other thing that we all have experiences as children and young adults, and like my mom was amazing. But as we get older, we see things that could be adjusted. So one of the things that you were talking about with kids taking ACTs and the SATs, don't wait to do the prep course when you're in the 10th grade. All right.
Right.
So the
Right.
plan, and I have some friends that say their kids already are like in the 4th and 5th grade. They're already going to these testing centers and just taking tests every week, understanding, learning how to look at the information. And this is how you can be good as far as the information is concerned. But if you don't know how to look at the tests, then the information you learn, it doesn't even make a difference. You're still going to struggle. So my son is going to be at a certain age. He'll be going to the testing center, preparing for the MCAT, not the MCAT, but the ACT, SATs as soon as possible, because the
Yeah.
same type of questions are going to pop up when you go to these regular universities, wherever
Yeah.
that is, and you need to know what you're doing. So I want to take that off the table as a potential issue, so.
Yep. Perfect. 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 And it's the way. I think it's the way. And I don't think it's the only way. But I'm glad that you demonstrated this challenge, and I hope people are listening on how to get prepared for that. All right. So what are your so tell me what you do now. Like, tell me the way people tell me what they do is by basically explaining a typical day, right?
Okay.
So tell me what you do now, and let's first talk about your challenges.
All right. So I'll tell you what I do. We can talk about the challenges of the day. So
Mhm.
as a perfusionist, you generally come in the morning, usually early in the morning, like 7 in the morning. I wake up at probably 5 o'clock every day. All right, because I go to New York to go to work. Sounds a little. You don't really like getting up early in the morning, but if you understand life and how it works, like it's actually a benefit to wake up early in the morning. There's
Early.
no traffic. You're fresher than everybody else. You probably get more sleep because you know you have to be up, so you take your butt to bed early. All those things. Anyway, let me get back into the day. So you get to work, and then there's a patient that comes into the room. All right. So now my first job is to come in and prepare my system. All right, to make sure everything is ready and prepared. There's a bunch of different things that we have to make sure that the patient is normal. I run a heart lung machine, which essentially, just to break it down, when a patient comes into the room, anesthesia preps them, they put them to sleep. Okay, and then they get ready for surgery. The surgeon comes in, he cracks the chest. All right, and then after he cracks the chest, then anesthesia will wait for him to, give him the heads up, and then they'll give heparin. Okay, to start the procedure. Heparin is supposed to anticoagulate the patient, so we don't clot anything off. In the meantime, the surgeon puts in a bunch of different tubing and cannulas and stuff to divert the blood from the right side of the body to my circuit, the heart lung machine, and it's pumped back in to the arterial side, the left side of the body. All right. So what you're doing is you bypass the heart and lungs with circulation, which allows them to stop the heart and the lungs. All right. So
Okay,
then that way the procedure.
hold on. So they are doing this. These are cardiologists. This is heart
No,
surgery
so
or any surgery?
this is the basic cardiac surgery or surgical procedure. This is what you're going to look at. So your cardiologist is in the cath lab. So he's the one that's doing all the caths and the stents and other little smaller procedures. They're important, but they're more diagnostic procedures. Occasionally they'll do like a pacemaker or something like that, which is more, I guess, a serious procedure. But when you're doing like a real surgery that involves cutting the heart and you're repairing valves or doing bypasses or transplants or dissections, this is how it works. They cannot do the procedure if you've got blood in the heart. So the object is to give them a bloodless. You want to give them a bloodless, motionless feel. So they take cannula, which are essentially just, it's like tubing, a hose, whatever, clear tubing. They'll put a cannula in the right atrium or the SVC and the IVC, and then drain the blood back to my circuit. So that blood doesn't go through the heart. Okay, so it comes to my circuit.
You're removing all the blood from the heart, and you're stopping the heart from working, and then the machine is being the heart and lung.
Exactly. So that's why we call it the heart lung machine. So it diverts the blood back to my circuit, and then my circuit pumps it back into the aorta. All right, or either aortic conduit, like it could be a femoral artery as well. But generally, it goes back into the aorta. And so now the heart will decompress and come down. So now what happens is when we get on bypass, I'll start to cool you down. The surgeon will put a clamp on the heart, on the aorta. And then I run up a high potassium solution that I discussed before. And the high potassium cold solution will stop the heart. All right, so that stops it from beating. So when you stop the heart from beating, you're protecting the myocardium. You don't want it to beat while you're working. All right, so they go in and do their procedure. Bypasses, it could be, aortic valve, mitral valve, tricuspid valve, whatever needs to be done. They finish up what they're doing. I warm the patient back up again. And then at a certain point, we infuse the blood back into the heart again and let the heart beat. And then I come off bypass. And then the heart and the lungs are working together again. And the plan is you look up at the monitors, you make sure that the heart looks appropriate, look at the TEE, make sure whatever you did, the valves, everything is working appropriately. And then we can, cut off support from my system. Now, the fun part about being a perfusionist is as soon as we go on bypass, I'm in charge of everything, right? So in terms of the flows, I know how many liters per minute that your body needs based upon the size. I control the amount of oxygen you get. I'm monitoring that. I'm running blood gases to make sure that everything is normal. There's some headsets that monitor like the blood flow to the brain. I'm making sure that that's optimal. I'm controlling the pressures to make sure the pressures remain normal. And then I run ACTs, which is activated clotting time, to make sure that the blood is not going to clot in the midst of the procedure, and give heparin if necessary. So those are the basics as to kind of what I'm doing. So it's a lot of different things happening at once. You're paying attention. You listen to the surgeon. He's giving you some instructions. It's things he wants to do at certain times, and we just kind of go from there. We troubleshoot in conjunction with anesthesia. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, when we get ready to come off bypass, then it's handed back to anesthesia, which breathe. They do the breathing, and they're making sure they're treating the pressures and all that stuff. But that's pretty much what a basic procedure looks like. There's some other devices that we're responsible for. If you ever have left ventricular assist devices, if you're going into LV failure or RV failure, there's right ventricular assist devices, there's ECMO, there's balloon pumps, all these things we know how to do. We'll bring those into the room as support devices for the appropriate procedures.
Man, you telling me this? I'm having anxiety just listening. Like what I'm hearing is how important this job is.
It is,
Like
and
it is such an important job.
we work behind the scenes. And to be honest with you, some people like it because you don't necessarily have to interact with patients like that if you don't want to. I still, I like to do that, and I don't mind going to the bedside and stuff and helping out when we have support devices. But it's a very unique profession that nobody even generally knows the perfusionist in the room. Anesthesia's there, the surgeon's there, but nobody knows who that perfusionist is.
But it seemed like you have to have a low ego. And so I want to go back to the part where you got your bachelor's from Oakwood in biochemistry,
Yeah,
and they didn't have a master's program at the MUSC, which
right.
is what's the word for that school? What's
Medical University of South Carolina in
yeah,
Charleston.
and you're like, you said, well, you know what? I want to do this, so whatever.
Right.
Right? You would have an ego.
No, you can't. You can't have an ego. Now that's not the same with everybody. Some people have that issue, but for me, I don't know. It's just like one of my character traits. I think that you can't have ego when you do this type of stuff, and
Yeah.
you really have to be selfless, and that allows you to give more to your patient and work well with others.
Because you said you don't even know the perfusionist in the room.
No, you don't.
You know what I'm saying? And you're okay with that. And
Yeah,
then
I'm okay with it.
and I feel like everybody in the world, they know a cardiac surgeon, they know an anesthesiologist, but that's why I wanted to have this job out on blast, because I feel like
Nobody knows.
nobody really knows about it, but it is a very important job, and it's like you're in charge. You have to think about a lot of things. You
Yeah,
have to think about
you're
pressure. You have to think
multitasking.
about yeah.
So here is that I don't want to say difficulty, but the challenges of the profession. Number one, you got a patient in your hands. All right. And so I don't think about it like that because I always, and I'll just tell you this because it's the form that we're on, but like I always will set everything up and then I pray before
Right.
my case. All right. And just Lord, make sure that I'm paying attention to different things. I mean, because he helps you, he cues you in, Holy Spirit speaks to you. That we understand that. But in the meantime, it's a matter of your connections have to be tight because you don't want anything to fall apart. You have to troubleshoot on the fly while things are happening. You also have to understand how to work with people because it's a high intensity environment. Like, the surgeon may be, what's the word I'm looking for? They're under a lot of pressure too. So they're expecting, it's like a coach that's with his players. He's like, yo, you got to run it like this. And you can't get upset. You have to be able to work in the moment. Like I remember, I'll tell you this, when I first graduated, there's it's a challenge because, we have patients that come into the room near death, and everybody's running around trying to make it happen. It's almost like if you watch like a reality show about an ER or something like that, somebody's coming in, there's a lot of chaos, but it's organized chaos for the people that understand what's going on. So we're all doing our thing and whatever. And in those moments, you get like adrenaline bursts, and I remember when I first started working, one time I looked down at my hands were doing like this. I knew what I was doing, but it was like that adrenaline is coming and I'm sweating. I was like, why is my hat sticking to my head? This ain't gonna work.
Just
And
listen
then I
to
had
it.
to so then you learn, it took me a couple of weeks, but I was like, all right, now, in order for me to be more effective at my job and the room doesn't turn into a tunnel, I need to just embrace the moment and then just like make sure I stay calm. So now my hands don't shake anymore. I don't sweat and stuff like that when something crazy is going on because it's a high intensity environment, which is a challenge as well. But you have to know how to do a bunch of different things at one time. And the key thing is, and I was telling a student this the other day, is like it's doing the same thing every day. All right. Now it's different types of cases, different things happen, but you do the same thing every day in terms of your setup, in terms of how you communicate, and it's about consistency. And then over a period of time, you start to build and add intel to what you already know how to do to make yourself like a better perfusionist. But the challenge is every patient is valuable, and each day brings different challenges, and you have to figure it out in the middle of the action. And sometimes you gotta like be quick with it.
Quick on your feet.
Yeah.
And deal, and like I tell my students, they get a little rattled. I'm like, if you're getting a little rattled by me, and wait until you go into an OR. You want to be
Yeah.
in an OR? Those surgeons are like duh, 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 duh. And if they tell you to give them a scalpel, you better give them a scalpel. You better
Right.
not give them a whatever. You better be on point because they're gonna cuss you out right in the. I mean,
I had
that's
a surgeon one time. We were, it was a crazy case, and I was having issues with return because in order for me to push blood to the table, I have to get blood back. I'm like, hey, doc, I'm not really getting much return. He's like, can you handle this? It was almost like a Denzel Washington moment where it was like this pivotal moment in the movie. He's like, can you handle this? Like, I got it. He turns back around, keeps working. I'm working. He's like, good. And then we get finished. He's like, good job. And that's what it is. You can't get rattled because they're counting on you because you know how to do what you do. And you kind of go from just actually doing cases to actually becoming a part of the case. And that's where you really hit your stride. It's like when you're working and the surgeon's doing something because they're counting on people to help them not forget certain things. And like
right.
one day I'm like, hey, did you want to do? Oh, yes, definitely. Did we give her? Oh, yes. Please. And that's how you develop your rapport.
Got it.
And so, but those are the challenges of the day and I think that's why, they compensate us appropriately because it's a very important job. You're not just standing on the side, doing something but as a team, you're vital. And that's the fun part about being a perfusionist. I always wanted a profession where I'm not just standing on the side somewhere, just doing something, random, and not to talk about anybody's profession because you may enjoy doing that. For me, I want to be an intricate part of what's going on and really make input as to how we can help our patients and so forth. So that's the challenges
So
of the job. But
yeah. So is that your favorite part? That's the last question I have for you. What's your favorite part? You're saying being in
my
vital.
favorite part is to see a patient come in that should be like expired,
Mhm.
lactate of 10 and base excess of -15 and, barely breathing on the table. And you go do the whole procedure. Everybody's working hard. And then you go upstairs to the unit the next day and they're eating breakfast and their families are right there. That's the part that I enjoy. And that's probably the biggest joy because each person that comes in is somebody's grandmother, mother, somebody important. It don't make a difference if they're 97. It doesn't make a difference if they're 22. They're all important. And when you see the team like rally around and put in work and then the patient wakes up and they're doing fine, that's what it's about.
Favorite
That's
part.
what I couldn't do for my grandparents, or that wasn't available to them. But now I can do that, and so I enjoy it.
And that's bringing it back to your own family. How a lot of
That's
people
it.
in your family had heart disease, and the technology was not available to them back in
Yep.
those days. But now the technology is available, and I want as much people, especially people of color, especially males of color, like this is an option. This is an option to transform people's lives and as you said, well compensated option.
Yeah,
And
because I don't want to interrupt you on that, but it's important. Like, everybody, a lot of people complain about like how much money they have to put, into student loans, to graduate. I know I had a lot, you had a lot too, but that's why you pick a profession, number one, that you enjoy doing, but you know that it's going to compensate you appropriately. If you start a business and you make an investment, everybody has to take a loan out. Nobody's rich. I'm not a trust fund kid or anything like that. So you're going to have to take some money from somewhere to start it. But if the concept is good, it gets rolling and you make your money back, then it's no problem. All right. So when you pick a profession, take a look at that. Just don't be like, oh, I like helping kids. So now you want to just work at a daycare center. So understand how much you're going to make. Are you going to be able to sustain your family? Can you live comfortable in such a way that you don't have to be like, again, my prayer to the Lord is like, Lord, I don't need Gucci socks or anything like that. I don't need a Benz. I don't care about that. But I want to be able to take care of my family. If I wake up in the morning, I need 4 new tires for my car, I can just go get it. I don't have to be like, let me get one now and one later. And so that's why if you pick the wrong thing and you don't get compensated appropriately, now you're sitting here, I got these student loans, like I'm never going to get out from under this. You want to put yourself in a position to help your family and your next generation. So remember that when you pick professions.
yeah, listen, it's called leverage. And a lot of us don't really use these kind of terms because we don't learn financial literacy. It's called leverage. I told my students, like, then they're going to school pretty much for free, but they don't have books. I said, take out student loans. They're like, no, I don't
Give
want
me,
to take out
give me
any
2
student
seconds.
loans.
I'm going to let you talk. I need to get my charger. I'll let you
No problem.
talk. I'll be back.
No problem.
2
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I'm like, I'm telling them, get student loans. Like, no, I said just to pay for like $300. I'm not saying take out uh $50,000 of student loans, but invest a small amount. I took out some student loans and I leveraged it. I invested a little bit in myself and I chose a career that I knew would be profitable and I leveraged it. So that's the key thing. It's about using credit or debt to leverage. Don't use credit to buy depreciable assets, but education can be an asset, but it has to be something that is relevant for the future. Relevant. That's the key thing. Licensure, things that you know will compensate you well. My number one advice is don't take out more student loans than you plan to make in your year of degree. So if you know you're only going to make $50,000 a year, then don't take out $200,000 worth of student loan for education. Go to a community college, go to a state college, and because that's what you want to do. You want to be a certain type of person that only makes 40. I'm not going to pick the career because I don't want to insult anybody's career, right?
Right.
But that only makes $50,000 a year because this is what you really, really want to do. But then you leverage. You have to do other things to finance yourself.
That's
But
right.
it's about leverage. That's the key thing. And choose relevancy. That's and tell me, you were talking to me. We're gonna close with this one. You talking about like there's not a lot of perfusionists, like 3,000 people, and and
No.
they and they're aging. So is this career very like are they looking for people to
Well,
become?
let me tell you this, and this is the thing that's most important. And again, look into professions that you think you can. There's a place for you in the perfusion profession. When I was in school, and this was like what early 2000s, a lot of the guys that started in perfusion started like in the 80s and late 70s, and they were running it right. But they all have started to gray. Some of them started to die, and so now they've fallen back, like the old school generation. And there is a shortage of perfusionists right now. So people are jumping into school. Class sizes have gone from like 5 to 10 people. They're like 20, 25. One guy, he says 40 people in his class. Okay. So it's a whole new generation that's coming in. And so there's a lot of opportunity that's out there. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you an example that was similar to mine. My dad called me, I say about 3 years ago, and he said, there's a lady here at the church. She used to call me her adopted grandson. She said, my grandson, her grandson, wants to figure out what to do, with his life. He wants to go to medical school. He's not sure what he wants to do. Can you have your son talk to him? And so my dad met the young man, and my dad directed him. He called me. He says, hey, your dad said give you a call. I said, all right. So I told him, just like the other guy told me about how to get into school, what you have to do. He did it. He graduated, and now he's working as a traveler out. I think last I checked, he was out west.
Wow.
So there's opportunity, and they're so excited. What we need is like good, solid people. That's one, and we need good, solid perfusionists. And those two things in conjunction sometimes are hard to find. Yeah, and so that was it. I can't really understand. I don't know what to call it, but it's like the personalities that we have at Oakwood. Knowing how to get along with people and work with people and do a good job, and we're focused. They need people like that. I right now, and I didn't mention to you. So currently, I am. This year, I became the the system chief of perfusion at Mount Sinai Hospital.
Nice.
In New York. So I was named that. And so it covers.
I was interested in going to that graduate school there. That's an excellent institution in Manhattan, New York. Yeah.
#1 heart hospital in the state of New York. Wow. #4 in the nation for cardiac programs. And our chairman, Dr. David Adams, he is, I think that he is the best surgeon in the world, best surgeon I've ever worked with. He's very good at doing, a lot of people do replacements for mitral valves. He repairs them. And he has very good numbers, the best numbers they've ever had in the state in terms of mortality. So it's a very solid program. But I have been looking for people.
I need you to say what you do again. Shout out to Joseph Lewis II. What do you do again? You are the what?
The System Chief of Cardiovascular Perfusion for Mount Sinai Hospital.
Wow.
So the Lord is really blessed.
Graduate.
Yeah. And so look, I'm looking for people. If you're a perfusionist, you can definitely come and work. But like I said, the challenge for me has been finding people that really just want to work, they get along with people, and they can do the job as well. So that's what
Excellent.
everybody's looking for, and so
Excellence and people person. Excellence and people person. It's hard to be both. Because and I tell my students, my A students especially,
mhm,
I can't teach you to be a good student. I can sleep on this bench and you will still make an A. But
right,
if you can't, I can teach you how to get along with your lab partner. Because a lot of times A students are so selfish. They're so self-focused on
yeah,
getting the grades for themselves. They don't care. And then they
right,
say, I want to help people. I said, start by helping your lab partner. If you want to help
yeah,
people, start because it's not enough to just know it. You have to be able to also get along with people. And
yeah.
that combination is is priceless.
But it's so much better for the patients too, and then the patients can feel it too. Like, one patient came in the other day, and it's not necessarily my responsibility to do this, but just paying attention to things that need to be done. I like to stand close to the table when the patients get on the table, because I don't want anybody to fall off. I'm like, all right, sir, here's the table, balance yourself. And he's like, what is your name? And I said, my name is Joseph. Nice to meet you. He said, it's nice meeting you too. Those like moments really, they mean just as much as doing well in the procedure. So you can be an A student, come in and knock it out, but then the patient didn't feel like they were at home, or they didn't feel comfortable. Like, all of this stuff, it adds up. And when you care about people first, when you become whatever profession it is, it comes with you. And people see it too. And I think that's one of the reasons that I am where I am, because of just the ability to like just care about people in general. And so the Lord has blessed me with this, and I'm just like I was doing at MUSC. I'm all in,
All in.
and we're doing some good things at Mount Sinai.
Thank you so much for this interview. It's been an awesome interview. Guys, listen, if you want to be a perfusionist, reach out to Joseph Lewis. If you want to work as you are a perfusionist and you're an excellent one and a people person, think about moving to New York or New Jersey.
I'll tell you this too, and this can go for any profession. Find somebody that does what you want to do, and see if you can shadow them. If you're
Yeah.
a trustworthy person, they'd be glad to have you. At our hospital, we have occasionally like 2 or 3 people that come, and they'll watch cases and so forth, and they end up going to perfusion school. So that's what I did back in the day when I wanted to go to perfusion school. My mom
Sure.
called somebody, one of the hospitals there, didn't know the perfusionist at all. Say, hey, my son is here. My husband's a pastor in the area, and he'd like to see a case. Went up there and saw some cases, met some people, made some connections. And so this is all you have to do too. Like, don't just sit there and be just Googling. Like, start reaching out, meeting people, making connections, but also getting a chance to see cases, which, by the way, is a new thing now for perfusion. Like, they want you to see a certain number of cases before you actually apply. So, put
Mm,
yourself at the top tier. But like I said, you can reach out to me anytime. There's different people in the community. There's some other perfusions that you know of that went to Oakwood. There's a lot of people out there
absolutely.
to help. But
Thank you
thank you for
so
having
much.
me. Thanks for having me on. I mean, I enjoyed myself. And again, I'll have to pay more attention to your platform, because I knew you had this, but I just hadn't had a chance to like really dig in. But this is nice.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I don't know who I'm coming with next month, but this was an awesome interview,
Okay.
and I
I'm
really,
glad.
really appreciate it. I am the phenomenal STEMist, and so is he. Good morning, everyone. See ya.
See you later.